Well, a brand new threat from ISIS looming over Thanksgiving as President-elect Donald Trump says that his lips are sealed about defeating the terror group.
I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to tell them anything. All I can tell you is we're going to get rid of ISIS.
So what does he need to do in his first year to keep America safe? Here to weigh in is the author of Defeating Jihad. Dr. Sebastian Gorka is in the house. Doctor, nice to see you this morning.
Great. So great to have you.
You were, I don't want to say somewhat critical, but you thought that President-elect Donald Trump needed to have a pretty strong plan for ISIS, and you didn't think that he laid out his plan well enough. What do you think he's learning these past few days now behind closed doors that would lead him to a stronger plan?
Well, any criticism I had was a long time ago. He gave a very robust speech back in Philadelphia. That's really his keystone national security speech. And I have been talking to people in Trump Tower, and I did advise him last year. The key elements are very simple. Number one, we have to get political correctness and censorship out of the threat assessment. The idea, for example, as we have under the current administration, that you could have an attorney general censor and remove words from the transcript of the Orlando shooter's 911 call, removing reference to words such as Islam or jihad. That has to stop. That's outrageous. You can't have politics in the threat assessment. Secondly, we have to understand that it shouldn't be white-skinned or black-skinned Americans that are the face of victory in the war against the jihadis. It has to be our local Muslim allies. It has to be the Jordanians, the Egyptians. So Mr. Trump is going to have to rebuild all the Middle East relations that the Obama administration has practically destroyed. All the governments he's dissed in the last 8 years have to be treated as friends and allies again. And then lastly, this is really an intelligence war. We have to identify the jihadis before they go violent. And the best way to do that is with human intelligence, with HUMINT, identifying them, isolating them, and finding them and stopping them and arresting them before they actually plan an attack. And the best way to do that, honestly, is to use the kinds of things, the kinds of programs the NYPD has developed since 9/11. Exactly those kinds of programs that Mayor de Blasio has tried to shut down.
Yeah, Dr. Gorka, I did want to ask you this, and if we could bring up this map or this list of states, because I think this is really telling for people at home. This map shows 17 states that have had ISIS-related arrests from just January until now. And as we began our show this morning, we just did a story about some Somalis who were arrested, but then they were let off easy, you know, in terms of aiding terrorists. So once we do identify them, as you just said, what do we need to do then?
Well, yes, I mean, this is the really disturbing reality. If you look at the last 2.5 years since ISIS declared caliphate, we have killed or arrested 124 people in America that are ISIS terrorists. That's crazy. That's more than we're arresting per month Al-Qaeda terrorists. So what do we have to do? We have to prosecute them to the full extent of the law. And if they're individuals that we've picked up somewhere else and we're detaining in Guantanamo Bay, you don't let them out. I mean, we have a 40% recidivism rate from Guantanamo Bay. When we release jihadis there, almost half of them we pick up or we find are fighting jihad again in the battlefield within a matter of months. We have to stop that.
If you were watching Special Report last night, and there are some concerns in Washington right now among the generals. What kind of a president will President Trump be? He had said during the campaign that he knew more about the generals than, you know, in ISIS. What kind of a president do you think he'll be?
A much better one than President Obama. Look at the interview he just gave to 60 Minutes. This administration has been telegraphing what we're going to do months in advance, saying we're going to take Mosul, we're not going to have ground troops, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. That's not how you win a war. We didn't tell Hitler what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. So he has an intuitive sense, and he's got amazing people like General Flynn right next to him as his advisors. So this is a man who wants to win this war and will win this war.
Dr. Gorka, very quickly, because we have to go, but you advised Donald Trump, the president-elect, over the past year. Do you see yourself as a member of his administration?
It's not up to me to decide. I would be duty-bound to do so if I was offered a position, and it would be an honor. That is up to Mr. Trump and his advisors.
All right. Thank you.
All right, Dr. Gorka, always great to see you. Thanks so much.